Hey guys, Stan Efferding here, founder of The Vertical Diet. We provide a simple, sensible, and sustainable solution to help you reach your health and fitness goals. First, get started with our easy-to-follow Vertical Diet ebook, which includes a quick start guide and sample menus to customize a diet plan that fits your goals. Second, use the My Vertical Tracker app to help you monitor and maintain your progress. And third, for our busy clients who are always on the go, let us do the cooking for you. Our Vertical Diet Meal Prep Company offers free shipping for your favorite meals delivered to your door in the US and Canada. So head on over to stanefferding.com and get...
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Vertical Podcast. We've got a very special guest today. I'm here with my partner in crime, Flex Wheeler, and I'll let Flex do the introductions. This is an exciting time we got going.
Yeah,
here.
definitely. So I'm extremely honored to have Sergio Jr. Everybody knows his dad. His dad meant the world to me. I've told you this, Sergio, but this is for the viewers. I had the amazing opportunity to meet your dad when I did my first Olympia, and I actually had a chance to shake hands with him and tell him what I thought about him. And I just remember him telling me, don't worry about that show, Flex. You won that Olympia. But I was like, who cares about the Olympia? I just met you. That's the top of my career. So welcome on, Serge. Thank you so much for just being our guest. We know you're getting ready for the Honor Classic. It's a very trying times for you. So thank you for taking some time out to be a part of our show.
Of course, always. And I'm glad you had a good experience with my dad, too. You must have caught him in a good mood. I ask this every time someone tells me a story about my dad. I have to figure out what year they met him.
Yeah.
Because depending on that time frame, towards the end, you know more than anyone. It's a business, and
yeah, it is.
Sometimes they will do you wrong. And I think towards the end, my dad was really bitter towards the IFBB. So sometimes that came off on his fans that I saw and stuff like that. But no, of course, I didn't even understand who my dad was until I got into bodybuilding.
Wow.
To me, he's the cop. I've never even seen my dad flex a muscle in my entire life.
Oh, jeez, that's crazy.
I have no idea who that guy is. And I wish that I had got into it a little bit sooner. I didn't even start working out until I was 20, 21. I wish that I had maybe done some team shows. Not only we could have done that together, but it also would have helped me realize early on who he was. And it probably would have changed a different type of respect for him. And the police department, being a Chicago cop, let alone a cop for over 30 years, that does serious damage to you too. Nobody's calling the cops for good stuff. You're only calling them for bad. Everyone's a liar. Everyone's trying to point over you. And him being able to turn that off when he got home, he wasn't. It's hard to do.
Yeah, I obviously everybody knows I went through police academy, and I work for the jail system. So, for me, it was like every time I went to work, it's like I was in jail. And just the smell and dealing with you're just dealing with the worst people. But I think it's one of the most honorablest things in the world to do, to serve your people and your country and everything like that. And I salute and I support them tremendously.
I agree 100%.
Sergio, people probably don't know this, and I just recently discovered too, is it true that your mom was also a pro bodybuilder?
Yeah, you didn't know that? Yeah, she actually...
What?
Yeah, I've actually only been in the gym with my dad one time, and it was for a photo shoot for Muscle and Fitness, so I'd already been competing. The only person I've ever been in the gym with, like, training, was my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez.
She taught me a lot, for sure. Just like Lee's mom, Lee Priest's mom is pro. But I actually think Lee's the only, besides me and Hunter, of course, is the only person to even have any parent that was a pro and then became a pro.
Yeah, well, it's exciting news, but people will just assume that you're just this genetic gift and not look back at your humble beginnings. And you started out, your first show, you were 175 pounds.
At 6 foot, I had no business being on stage. I just kept working out and not did the competing thing. But I wanted to find out early on if this was for me or not. And we all know doing a show is the easiest way to figure out not only if this is for you, but if the people in your life are going to stick around too. I say all the time, if you want to figure out who's good in your life, do a show, because it'll figure it out for you. Well, 176, me doing middleweight at 6 foot, and I'm going against people that are 5'5", in getting my ass beat by them should have scared me, like, oh my God, maybe this isn't for me, but I just fell in love with it. I loved it. It didn't matter what I placed.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I did my first show back in 1986. I was 158 pounds on stage at 6 foot. And you can imagine the whispers behind my back. You're not cut out for this. How much of that, particularly in the shadow of your father, did you have to endure?
Right, exactly. I mean, the funniest thing is that when people would come up to me and be like, "Hey, when are you going to start working out like your dad?" I'm like, "I've already done 3 shows, shit." But I make the joke all the time that I was so skinny that I could do a front double by and a back double by at the same time because you could just see right through me. I was so skinny. It was just a rib cage. I had no business doing this.
You both are killing me. You're talking about how much you guys weigh in your first show, and I barely weighed 100 pounds in my first show. So I mean, like, I was only 175. And I was 130. I'm like,
And then you spend the rest of your career trying to get as ripped as that guy.
I might get back to that condition. It's so true.
Right. So what was that road like? You went from 176, and then within 10 years, you were 276. What was that road like? Was it a go mad, gallon of milk a day, pizza, pasta, pancakes, or was there a deliberate process? Talk me through it.
Yeah, there was a lot of bouncing back between obviously things that I had read about, like my dad's day, and then trying to implement that into, like, exactly like you said, the gallon of milk. People don't even realize that was like a staple back then. Like my dad had to knock out a gallon a day, and I was like, I'm gonna do that too. Then I learned that's definitely not what I should be doing. But I did a show every year, and I did 2 shows in each weight class. So I did 2 in middleweight, 2 in light heavy. But yeah, every year and a half, I went up a weight class. And then once I got to about heavyweight, it took me a few years to go to the supers. But man, it really was just a lot of trial and error. And because I was doing it on my own, when I first started this, my dad didn't support me. He told me not to do it, which, like any dad.
I told my son the same thing. He wanted to go into bodybuilding. I cried right in front of him. I said, like, please don't. Yeah. I
make the joke all the time. I hope my kid becomes an IFBB judge, not bodybuilder. Right? But I get that now on this end. I still believe after, let's say your son now is a pro, you're not going to still keep trying to talk him out of it.
No.
At some point, you have to hop on.
And embrace it.
Right, and he never did. So luckily, she was my biggest support, and she didn't want me doing it either. But once you realize he's going to do it with you or without you, you might as well help him out. And thank God I had her. But in the beginning, I was because he wasn't supporting me, I'll do it on my own. I literally got in a car at 18 and drove to Florida because he would call gyms and tell them not to let me join. I remember I found this gym that was in a basement, and I was like, no, there's no way he'll know about this gym. And yeah, one day I walked in, and they're like, hey, your dad called, and we got to refund your membership. So that was my last call, and that's when I was like, you know what, I'm moving to Florida. And I just literally got in my car, and I drove. So in the beginning, I was like, I don't need anyone's help, and I can figure this out on my own. And if I read every encyclopedia of bodybuilding, that's all I need. And I was just so stubborn that's why it took so long. If I had any possible guidance at all on any level, I probably would have had a way shorter time frame of when I actually was competitive. So when I lived out in Florida, man, I lived in this mobile home, and I was just so gun-ho about trying to be a pro. And I remember, it's my favorite story, is I saw Phil, and he had just went pro. And because I'm so tall, you're gonna fill out faster in the beginning. Everyone always gains weight. So I think I gained like 40 pounds in like the first few months. And everyone does it. You think 40 pounds in 4 months times 5 years, I'm gonna be a pro in a few years. And I'll never forget, it just shows how out of touch with reality I was. I saw Phil, he just won his pro card. And I was like, yeah, I just started working out a couple years ago. I'm gonna be a pro in like a couple of years. And man, he totally could have just been like, maybe if I met Phil now, he probably would have been like, you're a fucking idiot. But because it was still the fresh young Phil, he really was like, man, you know what, just take your time and be patient. And he really did give me some good advice. But looking back, man, if someone came up to me, it's almost disrespectful that I'm saying I'm faster than you are.
Right.
And I don't even realize I'm coming off like that. But it just shows for sure how out of touch I was. So I just kept plugging away, and I just felt like if I just kept doing the same thing over and over again. But I worked at Vitamin Shop and GNC, that was like my job. So I was all about the subs.
Oh, yeah.
So this is all you need: the intra, the post, and I'm eating like 3 times a day. You know, I'm have it so ass backwards that's what took so long. It took me probably a good 8 years of just bullshitting, you know, trial and error. So once I learned, you know, it's actually the food and not just trying to lift really heavy and have a good connection, that's when my body changed. And I won my pro card. Like it was like within a year or two, it was really fast.
Yeah, well, that was a long learning curve. I had a similar experience when I was training 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, and eating, you know, the same thing the guy behind the front desk at Gold's Gym was eating, which was tuna fish and rice cakes. Couldn't figure out why I couldn't grow. And finally, I bumped into a gym owner that had some competitive experience that flipped that script for me. Who did you kind of figure it out for yourself, or was there some people that kind of helped, got in your ear when you were in Florida?
No, yeah. I mean, I had a buddy who kind of helped me out a little bit, but yeah, I never had someone that was like, "What are you doing, kid?" Like, yeah, I was, you know, what was my main thing? You remind me, you said the tuna. I was doing chicken out of a can. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh yeah.
God, it was so horrible. And I remember I used to think, oh, as long as I'm eating chicken, it's fine. I was going to like Whataburger down there, get their chicken strips, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna be a pro in like a few years, you know? So no, I never had anyone that kind of gave me that reality check. I think just doing shows over and over again and watching people backstage. And another memory I had that was probably the biggest reality check was when I did junior nationals. And I'm backstage and I'm eating asparagus and I'm eating diet food.
Right.
Then I'm looking at this other guy and he's eating Pringles, he's drinking tequila, and I'll never forget. I'm like, I'm gonna beat this guy.
Yeah.
You couldn't wait a few more hours to cheat on your diet, you idiot. And he won. And he won the whole show. and I was like, I'm doing something wrong. So it was actually just doing shows, and thank God I did so many shows. That's actually where I learned the most from, is just kind of talking to people backstage.
Yeah, calories are certainly king. You mentioned it. You don't represent a supplement company currently.
I'm actually doing my own supplement company. I'm going to launch it to Arnold. Yeah, I'm just, man, it's funny talking to, you know, because Chris is staying here, Cormier. So it's been really cool to talk to him and just someone giving me the stories of back in the day. People want to argue all day about the physiques of the golden era and the 90s and blah, blah, blah. But man, no matter what, you guys did not have to deal with this social media life. And you guys had to compete with each other for sponsorships and to one up each other. I have to compete with the guy who's never done a show, and he's probably never even really worked out for a bunch of, you know, years. He just looked good for a short amount of time, posts pictures for the next few years, sells a bunch of ebooks, and now he's getting a sponsorship. And I just got sick and tired of every time I win New York, right? I win my pro debut, and then I get approached by Old School Labs. And I'm like, man, it's perfect. It's almost made for me. And I talk to them about, hey, what's a good idea? We should start having all the old pros become like a team, you know, get Samir, Tom Platz happened to be living with me at the time. And I was like, man, I can get Tom to come on and blah, blah, blah. And they do. And now look at them. They have all these older pros. And then they call me to tell me that they have no money for me. And they drop me. And Tom's still the face, Samir's still the face, and I got them, you know, so that was a hit. And then watching Sean Roden get dropped for DJ Khaled, you know, and that's just what is in this industry. And all they're doing is tracking numbers. Who's giving the biggest lines at expos? Who you know, who makes these guys feel like their dicks are bigger? And that's really it. They're not really caring about educating people and having a good spokesman for your supplements. So just all those years of that, I'm just gone. And GAT was the final straw for me. I finally made it with a hardcore company. Like their slogan is hardcore bodybuilding. And they dropped me after they said that they were going to re-sign me, and they still haven't even picked up a bodybuilder. They don't even have a bodybuilder. They dropped me for a men's physique guy who's all tatted up to his neck. He doesn't even do shows. He's just an Instagram person. And that's like, man, what am I going to do? You know, am I going to keep playing this game over and over again? The job security is just such a stress when you're dieting of, oh, yeah, they're going to drop me when I'm getting ready for a show. So I just decided, man, you know what? I'm going to do my own. And even if I break even where I'm not making any money, just the fact that I can prep for a show and I don't have to worry about someone calling me a month or two before a show and saying, hey, we're sorry, was a big thing for me to start. So I'm launching it at the Arnold. I'm really excited. And So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But that's a whole other world.
I'm glad you said all that because I was kind of headed that direction. The reason I asked you about supplement representation is the fact that you've always been so honest and so candid. You're one of the few people that can just speak his mind. In the industry, everybody else's hands are tied by whoever's paying them and their image for that person. So I appreciate that you went ahead and jumped right into all of that, because that's what people really appreciate about you, is that you wear your emotions on your sleeve. And that's just the way it is. You are who you are.
I know some other guys like that. Gets in trouble all the time. I wonder what's his name. But so tell us, man. First of hearing this, what's the name of your supplement company? You have a website already. Let everybody know because they're going to see this.
Yeah, I'm actually about to get the website. It's going to be done any day, but it's going to be Cosmic Industries. So we're doing a booth at the Arnold,
Nice.
but I'm still I just picked the flavors for everything. It's still just literally being made. But back to what you were saying about just I speak my mind. I seem to get a lot of respect from people that are older than me and the real bodybuilding fans, and the people that are coming up that have never been to a show in their entire life, and they judge shows off their phone while they sit on the toilet are the people that hate me the most. And unfortunately, they're the majority now. There is way more mass amount of non-real fans, and I think a lot of bodybuilders today and supplement companies, they're starting to play to that because, man, there's such mass numbers, you can't not, it's a business. But me, I just don't care. I don't care about the opinions of people that have never been to a show. And if you say that to someone who's never been to a show, they take it it's the wrong way. And I'm just trying to bring back class into bodybuilding. I feel like there's a lack of class, a lack of respect, especially for the open. So when I speak, I feel like I'm talking as you guys, and I'm speaking as people that have already competed, because I'm not saying any lies. I'm not saying it's not
right. You know what? I encourage you to continue, and I have this saying: there's more people who will drive by in a car and flip you off than are people who will walk up to your face and flip you off. So don't get caught up in masses. Just because there's more of them, don't mean it's a good thing. Those numbers, I understand completely what you're saying. Most of them don't buy nothing. They just want to be looky-loos and they want to, attach themselves to your coattail, but they're not real people. So kudos to you for getting to that phase in your life so quickly. And, I'm proud of you that you're trying to take your future into your own hands. So, man, big ups to you for that. For sure.
And I like that drive-by analogy, too.
It's true.
I think a big thing, too, is watching, I've literally grown up in this sport. There's no one that has been since, literally my dad raising me up as a baby, and then me hanging out at expos as a kid, having no idea what bodybuilding is. I have lived my whole entire life. I might not have understood bodybuilding, but I have seen the downfalls of a lot of people. I've seen people that were so great and everybody loves them. And then all of a sudden they're alone. They die alone. Nobody supports them, backstabbing. So I think me already knowing that, getting into the sport, prevents me from being in those situations. And I just have a different outlook, like you said, with people and the kind of respect that I want from people. I know that I could get a lot of followers, but if something were to happen to me tomorrow and I can't compete again, they're gone within snaps. So where maybe a few guys that are in my generation, they don't really understand that yet. They're still doing these. And this is my thing. And I'm not going to be the bodybuilder who's going to sit in a bathtub full of protein powder and just drink protein. I'm not going to do these skits. It's just not me. But that's what they want on social media. They want these goofy, clickbait things.
Oh my God.
And it's just not me. I'm so old school that I don't even think I could even comprehend.
Oh my gosh, you're killing me.
You know what else is fun to watch is that you don't clean up your site. Somebody comes on there and says some stupid stuff. You tell them you said some stupid stuff and you leave it there for everybody to see. I enjoy that about
Honesty.
you. You don't go through and delete all the negative comments. You leave them there and you respond and put those people in their place. I think that's great.
Well, it depends. If they're a follower or a fan, they get a different response. And I try and explain to people that there's a big difference of someone who hits follow on an Instagram and someone who actually supports you. They've gone to these shows. And you don't have to support me. Even if you just support bodybuilding in general, you have my respect. You don't have to be Mr. Olympia. You don't even have to be a pro. But I do think you had to have seen a show live. If you've never seen a show live in person anywhere in any country, then you're not a real fan. You have no idea to comprehend, one, what these marvels look like. Like people, when I'm getting it now, it's funny you say that, I'm getting it now where people will message me, you're going to win the Arnold. and I come off like negative, like you don't know what you're talking about. And someone who's never been to a show doesn't understand. To walk into the Arnold is like someone who got drafted in the NFL saying, I'm going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you're not. You're not. You can want to, you can have the drive that you believe you are. And yes, someone could mess up and you could do well. Of course, that would be great. But in reality, if you walked into the Olympia your first time and won, then bodybuilding's kind of weak, and bodybuilding's not weak. And there's Phil changed the game for people's perceptions, because you think now you can win your pro card, win the Colorado Pro, win another show, and then be top 4 in the Olympia. And maybe back in your day, you and Kevin, you guys placed really well fast. It's not happening anymore. It's just a completely different game. So when you say that, people are like, that's their first response. Well, not with that attitude, you're not. No, I bet you $1 million you've never seen Big Ramy in real life. You've never seen Bona. Like, you haven't seen these people in real life, because you would understand that I can be training better than them. I can be taking all the supplements in the world. I can have the most drive and heart, but they still have 20 years of time under tension on me. And you're not ever going to surpass them in a year. Like, anything's possible, but trying to explain that to someone who doesn't want to hear that, because
waste your time.
Right. And that's my, when are you educating someone, or when are you wasting your time?
Right.
Yeah. Well, you also got a clothing line?
I do, yeah. Victory Clothing Line, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I really just started it because I couldn't find clothes that fit me, and that was the main thing. And then once I got that going, I actually fell in love with it. I really liked the designing of them, and then I always wanted to put my dad on clothes. There's just so many insane pictures that I wanted to do. But a big thing that I really wanted to do when I started my career is to not ride on his coattails. I wanted to be my own thing. So I didn't even put him on a shirt until about a year ago. And then now I'm finally going to do the pool stick picture, which is so famous.
Right.
So now that I've kind of established myself a little bit, I'm having the best time with it, and I'm actually like enjoying the comparisons of me and him. And I'm not so negative about that comparison,
Yeah,
That's
I'm
an
excited
honor.
to see that. You've certainly earned it. You built a world-class physique. I see your pictures and your last shows. It's phenomenal. And then to see that cover, the Flex magazine cover, how epic was that?
I think Flex, the magazine ending, and I was like a few months before it ended, made it even more crucial for me. And again, I have also matured a lot in the last 2 years. I went through a divorce, and just exactly all the businesses that failed and sponsors that dropped me. So the person I was when that Flex magazine came out, I was like, man, my first magazine cover, and I'm with my dad, and I'm just like, man, what do I have to do? How many shows do I have to win where I can just get my own respect? And then the magazine doesn't exist anymore. My dad's not around anymore. And now I'm like, I fucking love that cover.
It's iconic, man.
Right. Who else has that? Who else has done that? And now that it's gone, no one's ever going to be able to share a cover with, their father again,
But who better than it should be you to be on that cover any damn way, I love your maturity from us talking before. All of us grow up, and it's hard growing up in the spotlight. It truly is, because they see your shortcomings and everything else. But that's just iconic. I mean, I wish I had a cover with me and your dad on it. You know what I mean? That would just be iconic. So it's beautiful that you're embracing that, and reading some of your posts. I don't always comment. Sometimes I just silently read. And when you were talking about, man, what do I have to do to exceed his physique? They talk about my arms. My actual arms measure bigger than his. But you know what? Take this away from that. Only reason they're comparing you is because they see your greatness and your potential. How about they never even compared you? Like, your dad was Sergio, but I mean, good luck with that. So you got to look at it like, who are they comparing you with? One of the founders and one of the greatest, in my opinion, Mr. Olympias of all times, especially what he had to go through to get there. So that's a compliment. That's a compliment, man.
No, you're right. And it was cool. I just did that picture with Arnold's son. And you're right. No one's really comparing him to his dad, because he's so not even close that no one's even thinking about that. No one's even, putting two pictures together. The post about the arms that you're talking about, I was more making a point that people pick and choose when something is good. So my dad, right, is known as one of the best arms ever in the history of bodybuilding. He doesn't have a peak. He does not have that tennis ball, softball peak. It's these elongated softballs that are known as the greatest arms ever. So now here I am with the same genetics. That's like the same exact arm, and that's all I hear is about how this needs to be better. I need more of a peak. God, if Robbie Robinson tells me one more time that I need more arms, I'm gonna lose it. He's only commented like 3 times, and every time it's like no peak. Like I can't.
See, but that's stupid. I'm sorry, that's stupid. Listen, yeah, and I don't want to blow the world up, but these books of how to build the best arms, how to build the best. You're damn lying. Those are your gifts. You know what I mean? That's like me. Saying how to build the best. I hated training arms. They came so easy. And to say, you need to supinate and this, that, and other, that's a goddamn lie. Your arm is going to be your arm, however it's designed to be. It's no way of changing. It's like, the other bazillion butts. Do these workouts and you have, no, man. Unless you have that extra chromosome, that gluteus maximus chromosome, I don't give a goddamn what your butt might look better. Ain't going to be no bazillion butt. So that's funny.
Doing the Olympia changed my whole perception of bodybuilding. I think when I won New York, I finally quit with the don't compare me to my dad thing. I felt like, you know what, I've done something on my own and I'm okay with it, but I still wasn't like excited about it. But once I did the Olympia, and I had literally had people coming up to me or messaging me, hey, I'm coming to this Olympia. I was at the 84 when your dad held you up. I haven't been to Olympia since then. I'm only coming to see you. Like, you can like me or not. It doesn't matter. No matter what, that's history. Like, that's shit you can't write. And me being able to do that for other people is just, right. It's like I say all the time, it's just something that you can't write it. So that I'm actually starting to appreciate, because unless Hunter starts to really kill it and he goes to the Olympia and he maybe even takes, I think Lee took second or third. He took second to Lee.
Second, yep.
He's right. Unless he takes second, and actually matches his dad, there's not anyone ever going to be able to do something like that. And I like the Simba Mufasa comparison,
Right.
Holding me up and, one day going to come back and take over the kingdom. I think that is just really cool. So I'm starting to really enjoy the history part of it, rather than why can't I just be judged by myself, because when I first started competing, I used to say all the time, no matter what, when I'm in a call out, there's always an invisible person next to me. I have to beat my call out and I have to beat my dad every time, even since I was 176, no matter what. And now my perception is completely twisted, and I love it.
I wanted to give a takeaway to the rest of the skinny kids out there that are coming up. It's something I talk about a lot, was my struggles gaining weight. What do you think ultimately stuck with you in terms of your diet plan? Was it a particular food, a macro type? What do you think that's a big reason you were able to start holding and gaining size and weight?
Like I was saying earlier, I got off the supplements, because I was all about the calorie shakes. Man, I found this stuff called Russian Bear. It was 5.
I heard of that.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that.
Oh my God. It was so bad. It was like 5,000 calories. And once I stopped messing around with easy fixes, and I just set an alarm that went off every 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And of course, in the beginning, you're not hungry. And I literally would just take a bite, whatever it was, eat as much as I could. And then when it went off again, and before you know it, I was hungry every 2 hours. I just trained myself, because I was setting that alarm, that no matter what, I was hungry. How much food I can hold in my stomach, that took time for me to be able to take down some big meals. But that was it. I literally realized, stop messing around with these, magic pills, because that's what they are,
Right. Yeah. And they're not magic, because they don't work.
They don't work. And it's making me not hungry is what they were doing.
Yeah. I remember they had the Weider, I think it was Weider. It was Gainers Fuel 1000.
Yeah, Megamass 4000.
And then they came out with the Gainers Fuel 2000. It was just a double serving of the Gainers Fuel 1000. And it was sucrose, glucose, maltose, dextrose. I mean, every ose you could imagine. And did you get the diarrhea too with those 5,000 calories?
You blow out more than you put in.
We used to think that meant it was working.
Yeah, it is for your septic system. Yeah.
Oh, those were good times, man. The hot stuff. Remember the Cybergenics? You had to mix them together. They were so potent you couldn't mix them until you were just about to drink them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did the same thing, and then you know, what was interesting is even in 2008, when I started training with Flex, I did a video, a YouTube video on my rants where I said, training your metabolism. And it was exactly what you just said. Flex just said, eat what you can consistently. And then when you're hungry again, add a little more, a few ounces here, half a cup there. And we did that over the course of, it seemed like 3 months. You can't just come out tomorrow and do Ronnie Coleman's 6,500 calorie diet. It doesn't work that way.
No.
Yeah. So that's good to know. And then what about your volume? We always say that the workload drives the process. So did you dramatically increase the frequency and volume of your training at the time to try to?
That was the problem, right? So, you know, of course, like I was saying, I have this old school, what's been, you know, the few things, because my dad never taught me anything, but I would hear conversations, you know, so I would pick up these little things. So I had that. And then when I knew that I was going to pursue trying to be a professional bodybuilder, I just read every book there was. And I would just read. But again, how can I read other people's material when realistically no one, like you said, my mom and my dad are pros. Like I have to have some kind of different genetic breakdown than anyone else. And even if you don't, even if your parents aren't a pro, no matter what, how are you reading Arnold's and you're going to apply that to yourself? So I had all these things. And I think once I tried to figure out what was best for me, that worked. But the workout, I literally trained 2.5 hours when I was eating 2 meals a day or 7 meals a day. So I like high volume, and that's definitely something that I got from my dad. Doing guest posings, it's really cool. It's another thing I get to do now is I get to guest pose at places my dad guest posed.
Wow.
There are all these like stories about how he would pump up for like 2 hours. They'd be calling him on stage like Sergio Oliva, and he's like, I'm not ready. And but that is in me. I definitely, and I was just talking to Cormier about it too, that now at the pro shows, they don't have weights backstage. It's like some legal safety thing. Yeah. It makes no sense because bands don't work for everybody. So I learned that me doing bands or some push-ups, it doesn't work. I actually have to have a full-blown workout backstage. So I would either start sneaking weights back in my gym bag and stuff like that. But in the gym, no, it was still, and it still is to this day, except for Cormier, because now I'll train with him. I'm literally done in an hour. He's literally killing. Yeah. But I do like a higher volume. I like a lot of sets. Not so much higher reps, but a lot of different exercises. So the exercises actually didn't change at all. Me having a better connection and understanding squeezing and having a mind to muscle connection and not just up down, that changed drastically. But
I wish I would have trademarked that.
Yeah, well, that's I was going to say, I was going to bring that was the next thing I was going to ask about was your experience with Chris and how that's been. How long you've been training with him now?
Yeah, so this isn't the first time that we trained. We got together a little bit when I was an amateur. He would spend some time, in Wisconsin, and I would drive from Chicago and meet him in Wisconsin. We would train together. So he actually helped me for USA's and then nationals when I won my pro card. But we both can agree being an amateur and training for the Arnold Classic are completely two different things. And I think it's different for him too, because him training me to get my pro card, he just has a love for it, and he had obvious respect for me and my dad. But now us getting ready for the Arnold too, which let's remember, he has the most second places of anyone. You can tell that, I mean, nobody wants it more than me, but man, he almost wants it as much as I do. Yeah. And I feed off of that. I mean, people comment all the time. Every time they take a picture of us working out together, you can't tell who's doing the set from our faces. Chris's face is squeezing. He's doing the workouts with me. And training with him, the training's great. The knowledge is great. Just having someone that I finally like, it's almost like a father figure that I'm kind of doing this with, and me not having that is just it's just something I can't explain, and it's fire under me that I've never had before. But the knowledge about going about the training different, because when you guys train with Charles, it wasn't how Chris trains now. He doesn't squeezing and holding and the negative. And it's just a completely different training in my body. So I would do pyramid sets, up to 12, and that's it. And my dad would tell me too, if if you end on a whole number, you're not training right. So if you end on 10, that means you were just trying to make it to 10. You did whatever you could to make it to that number, rather than what was when you're done. And he even told me too, but of course back then, like, what do you know, right? You know, I should have listened to him. But
Right.
even doing 9 means you tried better, because you really died out on 9 and you weren't just trying to just
Interesting.
get that extra rep, and you really didn't even use any muscle. So now I'm understanding that, because this guy does not count. He does not freaking count at all. Cormier is a maniac, and he literally reads you, figures out you're dying out, when he's going to come in to help spot. So to answer your question, because it's like a bunch of things, I feel like I'm kind of training with my dad.
Yeah, that's
Beautiful.
extraordinary. You know, and it's kind of deja vu as you're talking through it. The flashbacks for me from when I went down and trained with Flex, it was the same kind of intensity, the same kind of passion. And I didn't really understand until many years later, when I had retired and I had started training other athletes, the emotional involvement. I could see the passion in Flex, but you just don't realize how much you're a guy like Chris or a guy like Flex pours into their athletes.
Draining, yeah.
And because they've been there, they've experienced it, and they want it for you, like you said, probably as much or more than you do. And I can remember it was hard emotionally for Flex throughout those years of training, because we also worked with Keith.
Yeah.
It took him a little longer to break that top spot. He kept running into some really phenomenal winners, and he took second probably more times than anybody cares to remember.
Right.
What a phenomenal experience. And you kind of hit on a couple important things for people, and that's I always lifted too heavy. I was always the power lifter that thought you'd get bigger if you lifted heavier. But you're focused on what Flex taught me back in 08, the mind-muscle connection, and really getting enough reps to stimulate that muscle. And then you said something interesting, that Chris doesn't let you train more than an hour. And Flex was the same way with me. I used to train much longer. And he would say that, you can train long or you can train hard, but you can't do both.
Yeah.
And
Lee
so
Haney had that great saying, stimulate, not annihilate.
Yeah.
And I would always say, people would ask me questions like, the biggest difference between a pro and an amateur. A pro knows when to walk out. An amateur doesn't. So they think they got to continue doing more and more, because they're not in connection, in tune with that, but it's just, it's beautiful to hear, what you say about Chris, because obviously we train together over half of both our careers, and that's just what we do. But I think we're going to see some amazing things come from you. First, because I think now you're really with somebody that you bought into the system. You believe him, you trust him, he's not there to harm you. So when you have somebody like that you're with, you can just turn your blinders off and just say, okay, whatever you say.
Well, we talked about the gaining, but how about the cutting? What's your method now? What's your diet look like? What do you know the markers are that you're going to be successful?
Yeah, usually cutting is usually the easiest thing, because my metabolism wants to go back to being a skinny kid. But it's so weird, because I finally got my life. So I took last year off because the year before that, it was the worst year of my life. Went through mad depression, and I was in a real dark spot. And then I took a break from bodybuilding, and it was the best thing. Not only did I put on so much weight, to give now Aceto and Cormier something to even work with. I always make the joke all the time that Aceto has to pull rabbits out of his hat with me, because my life is falling apart and he's having to somehow pull my greatness out of me.
Right.
So now I got my life together, and now I don't have any problem. We don't have a flat tire that we're having to work around. So now the diet's different. Usually I drop weight, I'm over dieting, I'm stressed out, I'm strung out. And I literally put it on my story the other day. I couldn't believe I weighed myself, and I was like 285, and I can't understand how I've leaned up so much but gained so much muscle at the same time. So the diet's actually this is the first time I'm actually eating a lot. I'm doing way less cardio. I used to do 2 hours on the stairs, 2 hours on the stairs a day, right? More cardio, more cuts. And I already look better than what I ever have in any show prior. So that helped both of them. I call it Chris squared, because I have Chris, Cormier, and Aceto, and I kind of gave them a good foundation to start with. So this diet's been different. I'm eating a lot, and I really need the food to train with Cormier anyway. So thank God I'm not on a 50-gram carb diet, because I'm trying to get my metabolism to do something. So I don't know. I'm figuring it out as I'm going. This is a new venture for me. I'd say this all the time. I'm either going to show up at the Arnold my ultimate best, or it's going to be the worst. Or somehow I'm so off that I was actually so out of touch with reality, and I'm not actually doing as good as I am. But I'm going to bet that it's going to be the best ever, because I feel it. I feel really great. I feel really happy. I know my cortisol levels aren't attacking me the whole prep, because that's usually my just to figure out what supplements I could buy to lower, help with my cortisol and stuff like that. And still, come the day of the show, no matter what, you'll get a lot of pressure and anxieties and stuff like that. But I think knowing that he's going to be back there with me, it just calms me down. And Chris, Chris is a strung out guy. He does not stress anyone out. He can literally, he tells me stories about he's running from the cops trying to get ready for the Olympia. And I bet you if you talked to him when that was going on, you wouldn't even be able to tell his demeanor. He's just a regular day.
Yeah.
So that helps. And that's the best thing about Aceto. There's been plenty, even New York. I won New York. People don't know that I barely made it there. I had no money, one-way ticket. I'm lining up to come out. I lost my trunks. I don't even have my trunks, and they're lining up. There was so much. I had this huge breakdown the night before. I'm crying, and Aceto, calmed me down. So thank God I've had Aceto this long, because he's actually helped pull my greatness out of me. When people just watch you on stage, and it's like, oh wow, he killed it. He looked great. When if you would have went 24 hours behind, I'm just crying, I'm a mess. So having both of them and how they are is the perfect combo for me, because no matter what, I've talked to Dexter a little bit, because man, if I had to pick the most confident person I've ever met, it is Dexter. And I think it's once you you're doing your job right, you don't have to be stressed out. There is no stress. You can have that Dexter walk as you come out, because you did your job. And I think once I do this Arnold, I think I'm gonna be on that level, because now I'm not scared. I'm not intimidated, and I don't feel like I'm living in this shadow. I'm not good enough. But in the same, I have tons of work I need to work on. I have tons of growth I need to do. So it's straddling that, not being too confident, but also, no, you did your job, and you need to be scared.
Yeah, I feel it. I was a skinny kid too, and every time I dieted for shows, I was doing cardio and egg whites and whitefish, and I would lose a massive amount of muscle and get up there kind of stringy. And then Flex fed the hell out of me. It was 4 pounds of top sirloin a day that he would make me eat. I was cooking it at the time in a Foreman grill. Imagine how tough that steak was. And it was the first time, and no cardio. It was the first thing he said, we're not gonna do any cardio. You're gonna eat 4 pounds of steak a day, about every 2 hours. We're eating 7, 8 meals a day. And that was the time I held on to all the hard-earned muscle that I had spent so long. And people hate us for that. They're like, oh, you can get ripped at the drop of a hat.
No,
but
you're working. It's the work a lot. Like you said, thank God that you're eating so much, or else you would just burn away because of the hard workload that you're stressing. With Chris and I've always said your workload will determine your caloric intake. And as far as getting, to a show, I would always think of like an airplane landing. They'll say 30 minutes out, and it starts slowly descending. So as you're getting in shape and you're slowly descending into a show, and each day you look better, and each day you look better, and always you look better in the morning than you do at night. And as you continue doing, and each day you continue getting better and better, you start kind of getting a little relaxed. Okay, things are going right. And then when you look good in the morning and you look better at night, you're like, it's on now, right? But you start to feel comfortable that, damn, what am I going to look like when I wake up in the morning? First thing you do, you want to look in the morning. Even when you wake up in the middle of the night, you're squeezing your glutes, my abs still there. But once you start realizing over weeks and over weeks you've gotten better and better and better, then you start to say, yeah, I know I'm going to look better in the morning. And that takes that stress off of you.
That's so wild, man. That's literally what's going on in this prep. When other preps, I wouldn't look at a mirror.
Wow.
Because I would only see the discrepancies. I would only see the negatives. What's not good, what's deflated, what's deteriorating so fast. When now you're right. I wake up and I am so excited to see the changes every day. Man, that's so wild.
Yeah, it's true. I think that's a true understanding of when you're getting better. And it's interesting. We talked before, we had our conversation before, but it's very interesting how many similarities we have. The low self-esteem, the doubts, the struggle with depression and so on. Am I good enough? And, even, me, all the times I ever went on stage at the Olympia or the Arnold, I'd be terrified. I'm like, man, I'm gonna get my ASS handed to me. But, like I've always said, I learned at an early age, when people figure out what your weakness is, they're going to use them against you. So you just have to create this aura of cockiness and almost arrogance. And they look like, wow, you're cocky, you're arrogant. And in the back of my brain, I'd be like, you have no idea how terrified I am. But great, you think I'm cocky and I'm arrogant? Good, I'm doing my job then. I'm fooling you. But it's going to be so exciting, man, to see what you look like.
I kind of going about bodybuilding a little bit different than most people. Like most people, not most people, my generation. My generation is so different. It's about what you can get out of bodybuilding. You get in, you build your businesses, and you get out. I want to see what I could put into bodybuilding, what I can bring back into the sport. If I never win any titles ever, but 10 years down the road, they're like, hey, you know what? We put a little bit more emphasis into the routines now, because I remember when I saw Sergio, he actually did a routine. If it's for $10,000 or not, he always had a routine. Just little things. When you dress up for the Olympia, you don't go in a stringer. You don't wear gym clothes to these shows. You're supposed to like bring class to these things. It used to be a show, art. So little things like that I want to really change. And of course, in the social media realm, it's really hard for them to understand and comprehend. But there is a few people that actually care about the sport and are historians, and they hear me, and that's what I do. And yeah, being able to do this routine in front of Arnold, because I know Arnold, I've talked to him a few times, and of course I've seen him since I was a kid, but he's never really like cared about my career. Like I know he's never seen me. I know he's never seen me on stage or anything like that. So me being able to do that in front of him and in front of the world, I'm really excited to kind of like change the criteria of bodybuilding. Of course, you need to look good and stuff like that, but just a different kind of composure that's just not really around anymore. And it's funny because you were saying we have a lot of similarities. I used to make this joke all the time that whenever I started getting bigger and I'm a lot taller, people stopped comparing my dad. They started comparing me to you. And it's just the facial features. And
I get that a lot too. Definitely, man.
The splits in my routine and stuff like that. And I used to make this joke all the time that I'll know I made it when someone says someone else looks like me. Because I'm like, you look like your dad. You look like Flex. You never look like me. So
right.
So it's really cool. And that's something, I've talked to you about, is that, I just study so much tape of routines, and I've seen every single one of I had this conversation with Flex where he posted something, and I knew the song. Like I knew everything about the song and where he hit the routines, and he sent it to me like, oh, this is the song that it was. And I was like, Flex, I have watched that 80 times. Like I know it in and out. You can get with this, you can get with every and I'm really excited to let's say I don't even place well at the Olympia or at the Arnold. No matter what, I want people to go home talking about me and just saying, man, you know what? It's like a breath of fresh air. It's just different. And I feel like bodybuilding, Arnold's been throwing these little bashes about bodybuilding and what he doesn't like and stuff like that. And, he did that thing where Kai won and he embarrassed him. He was like, hey, why don't you hit a vacuum? He did that on purpose. He knows that Kai can't hit a vacuum. So I feel like him and bodybuilding are looking for this excuse to not go back to the golden era, but maybe someone who can still weigh 270, 280 on stage, but still have old lines. But they're not going to go from, this is our criteria. We're going to have 8 years of this guy, 8 years of even bigger, and then we're going to switch to a completely different, small, streamlined person. So I feel like they're looking for something kind of in the middle that is both, and that's what I want to be in bodybuilding.
So yeah. Also, you're telling us that you're going to prepare to put on a show for us come the Arnold.
I'm winning that Best Poser Award. I'm going to win that this year and every single year that I'm a pro. I promise you. Unless Kai comes back, because Jesus, he's the next level.
Well, I was just about to head there, and you beat me to it, because that is certainly one of the things that you're well known for, and
Yeah,
I
you're
commend you and
posing,
thank
yeah.
you for that, because
Yeah.
it's a pleasure to watch. And I wanted to say that certainly is something you're passionate about, but it's also something you work hard on, and it's also something that Chris was well known for.
Yeah.
And I remember when working with Flex. So tell us now, we're a little over 5 weeks out, what does that specific skill look like with Chris?
Well, don't let Chris fool you, because I learned he made up a lot of his routines on the spot. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
yeah, I was even talking to him about this one Olympia where he came out and him and Darren Charles used the same song, and how much better his routine was than Darren Charles. Darren Charles is a great poser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris is like, oh, they played the wrong song, so I just played it by ear. Like, what? So
Yeah.
I'll never be able to be on that level to just come up with something on stage. Like I literally will practice 10 seconds, then the next 10 seconds, then I'll go back and play those 20 seconds. Like I take it to a whole nother level. He's helping me with my mandatories. The mandatory poses are, it's so funny. My routines is probably the thing I feel like I'm the best at.
Right.
But the mandatories, I'm easily the worst. My mandatory conditioning, how I hold the pose, all the little pushing out with your toes and your feet, and I suck at it. So he's helping me with those greatly, completely changing my, but with the routine, I'm not even letting him see me practice. I'm not letting him know the song. No one's ever in my life ever known what song I'm gonna do, ever see me practice. It's kind of like I want everyone a part of my life to have a show too. And man, these shows are expensive. You know, I don't want to go to a show and you do 13 different most musculars walking back and forth doing the Hulk Hogan. Like it's just boring.
And begging people to
I hear
apply. Yeah.
So the routine, I've actually just been kind of doing it on my side, and I'm excited to show Chris too. Because even when I said that to him, everyone in my life is used to it, but he's like, no, I'll help you. And I'm like, no, I want to do it on my own. I want to come out, and Cormier's like, man, he is good.
Yeah. I don't think people appreciate how hard that part of the show is, especially at your level, where they do as many comparisons as they do and call outs as they do. And when Flex was taking me through posing back in 2008, 2009, they were brutal sessions. They were, like you said, long. You had to hold the poses. You're standing there in a puddle of sweat. You're gasping for air. He won't let you sit down or lean on anything because he knows the judges are watching. Even when you're relaxing, when he gives you a break, he's like, I'm watching you, hold your stomach, and all over you. And people don't appreciate that. I can remember when I competed and won my pro card, that when that whole thing was over and I walked backstage, it took me like 20 minutes to recover. I could taste blood in my throat. That's how hard it was. But on stage, perfect composure, holding the whole time, trying to breathe with those little sips of air into your chest and holding it like that. So that's what I was trying to get at with Chris, is I know that he's a taskmaster, and it's why he's so good at posing, even off the cuff, is because these guys practiced an enormous amount.
Posing hurts more than anything else. It's lonely. If you can't embrace that, then you can't go be a diamond on stage. I always said, a diamond is created in the most hostile environment, and it takes a long time. But at the end of the day, you got a beautiful diamond, and that's what I looked at as far as training, dieting, and posing. It's horrible. Harsh environment. I don't like this.
It is. I get so mad at Chris, man. Two more rounds, and then we'll do 2 rounds. And be like, 1 more. I'm like, come on, Chris. I'm literally mad at him. But I should be. That's the level I need to be at. And it's the same thing with when I played football. Practice was supposed to be way harder, so that way when you came to the game, you're not huffing and puffing.
It's easy.
And, yeah, that's been the biggest change for sure, is him. And you lean up faster and better.
Yeah, you do.
Do that, right? I'm getting cuts in my upper legs because I'm shaking and I'm trying to hold it. And I wouldn't have had those if he wasn't grilling me.
Right. And you can pose less effortlessly. When you're on stage, just the slightest movement, the muscles will, because it's trained, it's used to responding immediately. So it's great. It's great, man. I'm really excited to see that he's passing on the torch at everything that we kind of learned back then. And, like you said, when we trained with Charles, it's different, but we evolved. We trained with him, and we're also the athletes, so we can see it from different aspects. We can pass that on.
Getting heavier and doing my routine, though, is something I've noticed is not as easy. I was very adamant about my routines when I was a light heavyweight and a heavyweight. But yeah, now as I get heavier, you actually, years and years ago, I don't even know if you even knew who I was when I was talking to you, But I was talking about doing the splits. You actually told me to not do them in guest posings. And I was in guest posings, you're the heaviest. And I was still trying to do the splits, at my heaviest, and that's how you get injured. So that's actually something you stopped me from doing. You said it to me a long time ago, and I don't do it in my routines anymore for guest posings because it's very dangerous.
Yeah.
But that getting down, and now I get it because I used to be like, man, why isn't Paul Dillette and yeah, right.
I thought you were talking about the splits. I didn't mean posing. I thought you were talking about doing the splits.
I learned that he couldn't even hold his mandatories right either. But why aren't they getting down on one knee, or doing these classic poses?
Yeah.
Because man, your joints and your body, unless you're stretching and you're doing that on the regular, you're gonna or something.
Yeah, definitely. I remember you talking about your posing and how much you put into posing, and that your knees were all scuffed up and torn up because
to make it, they're always bleeding.
Yeah, to do it beautifully, you have to drag it and prolong. You can't just come up in a brace. It's mechanical then. Like I said in one interview, I want it to be like smoking in the air. How it just moves effortlessly in the air. So it's painful. I remember a number of times of having rosebuds on my knees or whatnot on my elbows from spinning off of this, that, and the other. But it's for the craft, man.
I love it. Absolutely. It's so true. But I like the Vince Taylor, the Quiet Storm. I like that idea of if people are applauding. I mean, of course, if you hit a pose and you're commanding that and they applaud it, that's different than when you're doing it and waiting for them to applaud. If you're really good, people are quiet.
That's right.
And that Quiet Storm name that he would put on is such a perfect analogy that I want to be. I want people to be quiet when I'm watching. I want them to be such in awe that this 5'11", 6-foot person is doing the same thing that the classic division was doing. And then when I'm done, or you hit like the victory pose or most muscle, things that command that applause, otherwise they're just watching. Yeah. Usually the people that are waiting, that's not
phony. It's phony. Again, it's you're echoing so many things I said. I've always picked my music slow because like if you go to a symphony, nobody's they're paying attention. Everybody's silent and they're paying attention. So I would pick music that I wanted people just to shut up, sit down, and be quiet, and let me display this or unroll this like movie I have in my head. But I know after a while they'll get bored of that. So always the last 30 seconds I will put whatever's popping, whether it was, whether it was Daz Dillinger or whatever was a famous beat, I put that on because immediately they get up and they start going crazy. So you want to take them into this valley and watch you, execute your posing as an artist. But you got to bring them out of it, or else they kind of like, kind of humdrum. So it's really beautiful to hear you say some of the things, that I've always thought, and to see that you're carrying it on. I remember Lee Labrada telling me how bored he was of going to shows anymore because he said it's boring. Nobody puts any effort into posing.
Yeah, it bothers me that the sport itself doesn't care about it. And then they make this classic division, and now all of a sudden we care about posing again. It's just weird how we can pick and choose when it's important. What still blows my mind is when you're giving away $10,000 and you still have 2 routines in the whole Arnold last year. And I love Josh. Josh is a really good close friend of mine, but that's not a $10,000 Best Poser Award routine. He gave it to him because he's literally, besides Cedric and his stupid blindfold, like we don't know where the crowd is when you're bodybuilding, like if you're blindfolded.
Right.
But that was the only other routine. And they had to give it to Josh. And I used to get so worried when I would go to these shows because I'd be like, oh, I'm going to win that. And then I start watching nobody doing a routine. And then they're literally giving it to Freddie Smalls because he's breakdancing, or some stripper routine that someone else is doing. I'm telling myself in my head, I was like, man, if they get rid of the Best Poser Award by the time I'm able to win it, I'm going to be so mad because so many people ruined it. I know the Lormas are like, this is what we got to give 10 grand to? Oh my God. So I'm excited when they changed it to the Ed Corney Award. I knew they were going to keep it around for a couple years at least. And I know this year that they're going to be like, you know what, this was what we need to do. The problem is I want it to be, even if it's not for $10,000, I want people that buy tickets to get their money's worth, you know? And you don't have to be Kai. You don't have to be me. You just don't have to just do your mandatories that you did in prejudging. It's the same thing, except you're doing it to music. And that's something that I've been getting on people that are in my generation, you know, even if I help them and kind of give them little tips and stuff like that, it makes all of us thrive and it makes the sport better. And
I agree.
I want tickets to be sold out every year because they're excited, not that they just only go to the Olympia or they only go to the Arnold. I want, even if it's just a regular local show, I want you to be able to do some kind of, I think there should be a mandatory, you have to hit 2 classic poses. Like, why not? Why can you not hit one pose other than a mandatory pose? But you have to have the love of the sport. And that's, like you said, you can't teach that. You can't force people to watch tape. And bodybuilding, man, everyone gets into bodybuilding for different reasons. You know, there's tons of people that get into it because they were bullied or they were fat and they have all these issues that saved their life because of bodybuilding. But that doesn't mean that they understand the class and the art and the craft of posing. So sometimes that gets lost. And now you throw in that the judges aren't going to reward you for it. That means now you have to go. I say all the time, I wish there was 8 days in the week because I need an 8th day to practice my routine because I'm already training 7 days a week. So now you have to go for time to practice your routine and they're not even going to reward you at all for it. They're not going to give you any money, no trophy. You're not even going to get a point for it. They even took out the symmetry and the posing round out of the Olympia. It just boggles my mind. So I'm hoping that's something that maybe in the next 8 to 10 years that I can maybe bring back because can you imagine if Muhammad Makawi was bodybuilding today?
Yeah, Frank Zane, any of those guys.
They were last place because of their stature and how they were able to demand attention. They placed well. Where in today's day, I think that would just be overlooked and not cared about because they don't have shredded glutes.
Right.
So we'll see.
Well, Sergio, thank you for being so honest and taking us on that trip. I know that your stomach timer must be going off. You'd probably do another meal. I just want to say it's really been an honor to have you on the show. Flex and I are going to be at the Arnold this year. We're going to come watch you and certainly stop by your booth and say hi. And it's really going to be great to see what you do and perform up there.
I'm so excited. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Hey guys, Stan Efferding here, founder of the Vertical Diet. We provide a simple, sensible, and sustainable solution to help you reach your health and fitness goals. First, get started with our easy-to-follow Vertical Diet ebook, which includes a quick start guide and sample menus to customize a diet plan that fits your goals. Second, use the My Vertical Tracker app to help you monitor and maintain your progress. And third, for our busy clients who are always on the go, let us do the cooking for you. Our Vertical Diet Meal Prep Company offers free shipping for your favorite meals delivered to your door in the US and Canada. So head on over to stanefferding.com and get